So I'd like to call the regular Board of Education to order. If you could all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, I'll start leading it. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God, indivisible, with liberty
and
and justice for all.
All right, Kelly, would you please do roll call?
Okay, Ms. Fetterman.
Here.
Mr. Case Leal. Ms. Flynn.
Here.
Mr. Rakowski.
Here.
Ms. Stadler.
Here.
Mr. Singh.
Delayed.
I'm sorry, is Mr. Singh here?
I don't see him.
Okay. Mr. Wolf.
Here.
Ms. Hewer.
Here.
Mr. White.
Here. Before we get the meeting started, I would just like to request a moment of silence for Roberta Ty, who retired after many years of serving as a special ed teacher at Sargent. Thank you. I would like to point out that Ms. Ty was my first master teacher when I was doing my student teaching, and she actually mentored me my first year when I was doing the reading program that was first implemented at Sargent. She was a delight. She brought just a aha moment to the students, and she was a great inspirational teacher. So I just wanted to share my personal experience about Roberta.
She was one of my daughter's teachers and was a truly gifted special ed teacher that, you know, after years of, struggling to be sort of understood as a special ed student, it was amazing to see in a very short time how Mrs. Ty zoomed in on things and made kids feel safe and brought out the best in them. And it's a huge loss. It's so deeply sad.
Absolutely. All right, we're going to start this tonight out with the tenure recognitions and retiree recognitions. So I'm going to turn it over to Matt, and I think Matt is going to have each principal announce.
Yes, welcome everyone. It's an exciting night to honor our retirees. And Bill Rallone, our assistant superintendent, organized kind of the order of tonight. So I'm going to let him call people up.
So good evening, everyone, members of the board, Superintendent Landau. Tonight, I'm honored to present two groups to be recognized tonight. First, we have 12 members of our faculty that have chosen to retire from the Beacon Central School District after many years of service. These people are some of who are here with us tonight. We have Robert Atwell, 31.4 years. Robert Balk, 20.76 years. Betsaida Catalano, 33.55 years. Maureen Clark, 29.77 years. Marta Cruz, 25.78 years. Diane Diuva, 32.78 years. Marianne Height, 31.78 years. Karen Hika Borella, 13.78 years. Edwin Millay, 31.78 years. David Riley, 33.78 years. Rebecca Simmons, 13.78 years. And Mary Toman, 16.68 years. That's a lot of years. So on behalf of the Beacon School District, congratulations on reaching this milestone in your lives, and I wish you the very best in years to come. Here tonight also are members of the administration that have worked closely over the years with many of these people, all of these people. And so at this time, I will call on Elisa Soto, Principal Soto, to say a few words about her retirees.
Good evening, Board of Education members, Dr. Landau and his executive team. Thank you for the opportunity to speak about the following educators. And I know that Dr. Lalonde just mentioned their names, but I'd like to just share those teachers that are retiring from Beacon High School. That is Mr. Atwell, Mr. Balch, Miss Catalano, Miss Clark, Mr. Millay, and Mr. Riley. So they have been mentors, confidants, coaches, academic leaders, and at times referred as father and mother figures to the faculty and staff at BHS. Thank you for teaching your subjects with passion. Your teaching skills made it easier and fun for every student to contribute actively, therefore making your classes engaging for all. After many wonderful years of being part of Beacon Central School District, they are now off to a new adventure called retirement. I am sure the decision was not easy because of their deep connection to BHS, its students, its staff, and the greater Beacon community that supported them. On behalf of the Beacon family, I want to thank them for their service at Beacon High School. Every great teacher has to retire one day, but their deeds and teachings will always remain in the hearts of our students. The district will miss their service as educators. They have helped so many students to become better versions of themselves. Many good wishes to them on their retirement. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
At this time, I would invite Principal Soltish to say a few words.
Hi, hello everybody, thank you. So I have 3 retirees from my building, and I would like to start with Mary Toman. Mary Toman was in our math department, and she started at Rombout Middle School in 2003. She spent 17 years at RMS teaching math. Mary had a love for developing math talent within her students and also enjoyed the middle school age student, which we all know is a hard thing to come by because middle school is definitely a special age, but she excelled with our middle school students. She encouraged the development of curiosity and orderly, clear thinking. Mary, prior to working at Rombout, spent 20 years in airline sales, and now she is going to enjoy her retirement and spend more time with her family, and we wish her all the best and thank her for her service. Next up from Rombout, we have Diane Duva. Diane Duva spent her entire career of 33 years teaching math at Rombout Middle School, which is an amazing thing to do. So she's actually a historian for the Beacon City School District and Rombout Middle School. So we won't give all the facts that we have that I know that she's aware of, but I'd like to highlight some of hers. She taught grades 7, 8, 9, and AIS over the course of her 33 years. She had 33 different principals/assistant principals, some were repeats, over her time at Rombout Middle School. Although I know that I'm a special principal for her because, believe it or not, in the student teaching era that I was going through, she was my mentor teacher at Rombout Middle School. So I had the pleasure and privilege of serving under Diane Duva as a student teacher. So she helped develop me, and it came full circle when I came down to Rombout Middle School and I got to work with her on the other end. She was fun, extremely gratifying. She enjoyed teaching, even this past year, smiling every day. So it was sad for her to have to end the way we did because she was just loving her final year of teaching, loved her classes, and never imagined being online for the last couple months of her retirement year. But nonetheless, she went with the flow, and we are going to miss her greatly, and we wish her all the best in her retirement. Our next teacher at Rombout Middle School is Becky Simmons. And Becky Simmons started at Rombout Middle School in 2006, teaching health. Becky is an outstanding teacher because not only does she teach health, but she actually supports a vast majority of our students socially and emotionally throughout our school day. She's somebody that they were able to go to during their lunch periods. She made bonds with them. So the students in our school are going to greatly miss Becky, as well as our entire staff. Becky would tell you first that she loved coming to work. She viewed our school and our staff and our students as a family to her. And the bonds that she made will last forever. And I think the lives that she touched with her students will last forever. So I wish her all the best. I know that she's going to be doing a lot of traveling. So I don't know how often we'll see her, but we wish her the best as she travels the country. And thank you, Becky, for everything you did for the students at Rombout Middle School. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. At this time, I'd like to invite, Principal Cahill, along with Director Giametta.
Hi, well, I'd love to start, if you don't mind, John. Thank you so much for this opportunity to recognize and celebrate Marianne Haight. Marianne is retiring after dedicating 33 years to the BCSD, all at South Avenue School. Marianne has lived and worked through the many changes in education, most notably perhaps when South Avenue changed into a magnet school and then returned back to a neighborhood school. Marianne is a proud intermediate educator, working as a 4th and 5th grade teacher for the majority of her career. We won't mention that one year when she was assigned to 2nd grade. But Marianne is a supportive, kind, and caring teacher. She builds strong foundations for her students and helps them discover their passion. I've seen quite a few high school students come back to South to meet with her and to share how important she was in their lives. She has left a mark on so many. Additionally, she routinely hosts student teachers to help the newest teachers in training get a feel for the elementary classroom. She's always ready to share her love of the field and reach out to anyone who needs a helping hand. Although she is retiring, Marianne is still thinking about ways to help students during the next school year, perhaps as a tutor. But for now, she has her eyes on a vacation of a lifetime to Italy, a dream she's had in forever. Her husband, Ron, has some planning to do. We at South Ave appreciate all that Marianne has done for the South Ave community, and we will greatly miss her. We wish her healthy, happy, relaxing, and a well-deserved retirement.
Thank you. Can you hear me? I don't know if I was having some difficulty.
We can hear you.
Good. Okay, great. So I just want to start out before we get to Karen. I wanted to back up Brian Soltis, being that I had the opportunity to work with Becky Simmons for the last 6 years. And without taking too much time, I did want to reflect and thinking back on Becky and her teaching, and I was trying to find a common theme that I saw into the classroom each time I went in there. And after thinking about it more, the thing that I saw from Becky was every classroom I was able to observe or see her with, she made an effort to include the quietest, shyest students and give them a voice and empower them, show them support, and let them contribute to the lesson in a way that it's wonderful to see. And I think that talked a lot about her personality and how much that she cared about the students at Beak and making sure that everybody had a voice and felt important and was able to contribute to learning and education. So Becky, you're certainly going to be missed. And quick, I asked Becky a couple of questions just to get some feedback of what she thought about her time at Beak. And when I asked why you decided to stay in Beacon so long and choose this as your place, her response was, I always felt like I was making a difference. I felt appreciated, and I've always looked forward to coming to work every day. And not many people can say that. So it's wonderful for Becky, everything that she's accomplished. And as I said, she's certainly going to be missed. Now moving on to Karen Height-Burrell, I have a brief message. I once again asking Karen about her thoughts and feelings of leaving this wonderful place of Beacon. And she wrote a quick letter which I'm going to share to you, directed to the Board of Education. To the BCSD Board of Education, after teaching for 10 years, I stayed at home for the next 12, raising my 3 children, all who graduated from BHS ranked in 1, 3, and 4 undergraduate classes. I started subbing in the BCSD in 2005. That year, Eric Romanino was looking for a PE certified sub, and one of his teachers was having surgery. For 6 weeks, I subbed for Ralph Stefanski at the high school, and the following year, I was appointed to middle school. Throughout my teaching career, I've always been a secondary level teacher. Aside from teaching at Rombout, I taught a couple of times at the at BHS when they were in need of a class or two. The best thing about teaching at the BSS was getting to know Cindy Pomerico. I have to say there's no better role model for the teacher than her. Twice in the district, I've been asked to teach in the elementary school. The first time at Sargent 5 years ago, where I was very grateful to have the opportunity to work with Brian Archer once again. And for the hug that I got from him when it was time to go back to the middle school at the end of the year, it meant so much to me. The second time I was asked to teach at the elementary school was just this past year at South Avenue. I can honestly say that was one of the best years I had as a teacher. Everyone was great to work with. The South Avenue administration, faculty, and staff showed such dedication to the teaching profession and to our students. As for my co-teacher and colleague, Matt Van Voorst, I just can't say enough. His enthusiasm, professionalism, every day circumstances is to be admired. I was truly a pleasure to work with him. During my tenure, I coached girls varsity and JV tennis, boys JV tennis, and I enjoyed numerous concert plays, PTO activities, and field days. I had the pleasure of teaching with Tom Clemens and Tom Powers, my old school colleagues, as well as getting to know many wonderful, dedicated professionals. My greatest appreciation goes out to Jean Marie Jacques, my colleague, mentor, and friend. Early in my teaching career, a student asked me how long I would teach. I said until I didn't enjoy what I was doing anymore. Well, that isn't true. I love being a PE teacher and working with our youth, and I hope somewhere along the way I made a difference in someone's life. I know my students have made a difference in mine. I would like to share my fondest memory of the teacher as it happened just this past year. I was tying the shoelace of one of my kindergarten students during class. When I finished tying the shoe, the student leaned over, kissed my cheek, and went back to playing. It was so surprising and touching, and that's what teaching is all about. Thank you to all of the Beacon City School District. I'm so grateful to have the opportunity to share my life. Sincerely,
Thank you. At this time, I'll open it up to any other administrators that would like to say something. I'm not putting anybody on the spot, but if there's something you feel you need to say at this time, please do so.
Bill, I'm sorry, can I jump in real quick? I also wanted to congratulate the 3 retiring coaches that we have, Coach Atwell, Coach Millay, and Coach Riley, for the years of dedication that they provided to our Beacon athletes. Hopeful that they could stay with us, but overall, once again, congratulating them for the wonderful things that they've done for our athletes.
Can I just interrupt and say a few words?
Yes.
This is Becky. I just want to thank the Board of Education for the opportunity to work at Beacon for 14 years. I want to thank Karen as a colleague and my administrators. As I said, hey Karen, as John said, it's true. Every day I couldn't wait to come to school. I couldn't wait to come to work because you guys made it all feel like it was worthwhile. And as a teacher, there's nothing greater than having the support of your colleagues and your administration. And I just want to extend a great big thank you to you. And in between my traveling, I will try to come stop and visit. Thank you again.
Thank you. Anybody else? Those are wonderful stories, and it's it's an honor for me to be able to celebrate this moment with all of you. And once again, on behalf of the district, I want to congratulate all of you. Wish you only the very best, and please know that this is not goodbye. This is see you later, and hopefully we can connect in some way or fashion in at another time. So be well and good luck, and God bless you all. So at this time, there is a second group that I'd like to recognize on the opposite end of the spectrum. And for your consideration, 12 members of our faculty that have attained a different kind of milestone, tenure, or we hope so. Each of these individuals have successfully completed rigorous probationary periods, are highly qualified, and have received the highest recommendations for tenure. And here to further acknowledge these individuals are members of administration. But let me first read the list of people who are being considered for tenure tonight. Shona Rowland, John Fratto, Danielle Wakanek, Pam Ciotoli, Amy Dinkins, Cynthia Gaspari, Yesenia Pacheco, Nicole Butler, Aaron Kolakowski, Justine Addy, Jody Welsh, and Cassandra Orsa. So congratulations to all of you. And at this time, I would invite Elisa Principal Soto to say a few words.
Thank you, Dr. Rallone. So I'd like to talk about Mr. Fratto. I have come to know him over the last 2 years as his principal and administrative mentor. In the last 2 years, I've witnessed his dedication to students and his positive attitude. He is someone who is passionate about his content and his students as well. Mr. Fratto has the ability to adapt to any situation. He has the experience working with students with a variety of needs, and he has flourished in that responsibility. Over his 4 years at Beacon High School, he has developed a positive rapport with his students that is built on respect and trust. Throughout his internship as an administrative intern, Mr. Fratto worked closely with administration and built strong positive relationships with Beacon High School community. This was evident when he organized the PBIS Dodgeball Tournament, where he successfully directed the event, which helped raise money for PBIS and related scholarships. During his internship, Mr. Fratto worked with the athletic department and helped organize our newly formed student tailgate party, which is now held annually during homecoming week. Additionally, Mr. Fratto assisted administration on a daily basis with enforcing the code of conduct, including, most importantly, spearheading several restorative justice meetings. Based on his success and commitment to the students, he engages within the classroom and outside of the classroom, as well as his dedication to the Beacon High School community as a whole. I recommend Mr. John Fratto for tenure with the Beacon City School District. He is well prepared and motivated to continue to have a successful teaching career within our district.
Very nice. Thank you. Anybody else?
I do. I have Shauna Rowland that I'd like to talk to you about. So it has been a privilege to work with Ms. Shauna Rowland during the last 2 years at Beacon High School. She is a special education teacher who primarily teaches United States History Regents courses. In doing so, she demonstrated a high level of professionalism and commitment to excellence. Because of these attributes, Ms. Rowland was able to foster significant intellectual growth and academic success among our students. Ms. Rowland demonstrated tremendous initiative and organizational skills, which is necessary for a special education teacher. Each of her lessons was thoughtfully planned and structured in order to address the applicable content standards and maximize student achievement. By framing her unit in a single big question, Ms. Rowland was able to create the consistency and structure necessary for students to navigate complex U.S. history topics. In essence, she developed wonder and curiosity in her classroom. These skills, together with her outstanding classroom management and positive rapport with her students, allowed her to create and maintain a highly effective learning environment. To complement her classroom teaching experience, she has chosen to be involved in several after-school extracurricular activities. In the last 4 years, she has coached the girls' soccer team and has developed a deep connection to the Beacon community. In addition, Ms. Rowland has volunteered to chaperone our high school proms, and she can really burn up the dance floor. This demonstrated her commitment to student relationships. She has also made herself available to help her colleagues on school-based initiatives. All of these qualities is what hopefully will earn her tenure at Beacon City School District. Ms. Shauna Rowland is a fine representative of Beacon High School and a role model for our students. She is well prepared and motivated to continue to have a successful teaching career here at Beacon City School District. Thank you for your time, members of the Board of Education, Dr. Landau and his executive team.
Great, thank you so much. At this time, I would like to invite Principal Soltish to say a few words.
Hello again. So we have one teacher at Rombout Middle School, and her name is Erin Kolakowski. And Mrs. Kolakowski came to us from New York City schools. She was tenured in New York City schools, but is a graduate of Beacon High School. So for Mrs. Kolakowski, she was able to come back home, which we always love. And she's done an outstanding job for us teaching 6th grade ELA at Rombout Middle School. She has also been involved with coaching our modified girls basketball team. We can count on her to chaperone many of our events, and she actually joined us on our DC trip in 2019. But it is a pleasure to recommend her to you for tenure, as she does an outstanding job with our 6th grade students. So congratulations, Mrs. Kolakowski.
Thank you. Principal Sessoms could not be with us tonight, so she has passed on this message for me to read. Good evening. While I'm unable to be there in person, I could not allow this milestone of tenure to take place without providing a few words regarding the tenure recommendation of 3 phenomenal teachers. Mrs. Ciotoli, Mrs. Dinkins, and Mrs. Gasperi are all such an asset to our school community at J.V. Forrester Elementary School. Their commitment to excellence, rapport with students and families, responsive classroom environment, and management style are some of what makes us fortunate to have them among our faculty. They each have poured into our students and our staff, serving in a range of roles outside of their classroom teacher roles, including extended school year, equity team, building leadership team, data coordinator, and IRP. I'm proud to serve and lead alongside these great educators, and it's without hesitation that each received my highest recommendation for tenure to the Beacon City School District. Congratulations. At this time, I'd like to invite Principal Cahill.
Thank you for this opportunity to recognize Yesenia Pacheco for tenure in the area of school social worker. Mrs. Pacheco joined Beacon with some experience from the White Plains School District, Port Jervis School District, and began her tenure in 2016 and has worked at South Ave during her tenure. She's an active member of our school community. She brought the Girls on the Run program to South Ave. She collaborates with Hudson Valley Seed Land to Learn and Common Ground Farm to provide food backpacks to our students who are food insecure. She is our student council advisor, organizing projects to help veterans, victims of domestic violence, and local homeless populations, to name a few. She's also a member of our equity team, building leadership team, and building emergency response team. Mrs. Pacheco's greatest strength is her ability to read the needs of her students and support their social emotional growth. She is kind and compassionate, and towards all students, and maintains calm composure at all times, even through stressful and challenging situations. Mrs. Pacheco listens to the students and is well respected by both the teachers and the students she interacts with. She has consistently demonstrated the skills and knowledge required for superior performance as an experienced school social worker. In her years at South Ave Elementary, Mrs. Pacheco has shown the ability to succeed as a school social worker. She continues to grow in the position and has shown the ability to meet each child's needs within our diverse school environment. I'm very pleased tonight to recognize Yesenia Pacheco for tenure tonight.
Yay. At this time, I'd like to invite our Director Condello and Ms. Rincon to say a few words regarding the special ed teachers.
Oh, thank you for the opportunity. So I will start with Yesenia, since that's where we ended. I've had the pleasure to do the ability to be able to go into her counseling sessions and talk to Ms. Cahill regarding the level of support in the building. Parent engagement is top priority, and she fulfills that with stellar skills, keeps the building principal and myself attuned to all of the work that she's doing with the families and I know the staff feel that they can depend on her and her level of support. She also supports our McKinney-Vento and connections with outside agencies. So congratulations, and I'm very happy that she's on our team. And Jalissa may be saying a couple things for Forrestal, but what I do want to say is, although Pam Ciotoli was recognized as a gen ed teacher, she has been here in the district for quite some time and started off her years as a special education teacher. When she told me she wanted to go into gen ed, my heart dropped. But I also knew that we were able to maintain her in the Beacon City School District, which was a plus, because I saw how she was able to work with students with a variety of different learning needs, and knew that she was going to be able to do a fantastic job with moving over to the gen ed setting, applying those same skills and techniques. So congratulations to you. Amy Dinkins, I recommended Amy Dinkins tenure way back when we were at Glenham together. So Amy has started off as a special ed teacher, transitioned to gen ed, left us for a short period of time. I thought she came to my office to tell me she was expecting, but she was telling me she was leaving. And then we were able to have her back. And again, Amy brings in a variety of skill sets to address various learning needs of the students, as well as her technology background and her collaborative nature. So congratulations. Cynthia Gasberry comes in with such a great background with her early childhood education. And one of the things that we admire a lot about Cynthia is her curriculum planning, her organizational skills. And I've learned a lot through our time doing the distance learning and the creativity that Cynthia has been providing there in her kitchen to address the needs of all of her students. And she has great connections, as well as all the other teachers, regarding making sure she's keeping track of her students. And I will have Jalissa jump in to talk about the high school for Shona.
Thanks, Dawn. Sorry, I dropped my audio dropped a bit, but on behalf of the entire department, I definitely echo all of the sentiments from all of the administrators and the department as a whole. All of the teachers and Ms. Pacheco in her role as a social worker have definitely contributed to the development of all of the programs and services that we offer in the district. It is a pleasure to work with the administrators as well to help address the needs of the building, as well as individual families. And we definitely applaud them for all of the support that they provide, not just to the students that they service directly, but to their entire building community and in the buildings that they serve. They're definitely all very flexible and always willing to try any crazy idea that comes our way. And they are great at giving us feedback too when things don't work out. And we definitely have enjoyed learning from each other and with each other. So congratulations to all who are recommended for tenure.
Thank you, Julissa. At this time, Principal Orsa.
Good evening. I would like to recommend Justine Addy for tenure in the area of elementary education. During Justine's time at Glenham, she has demonstrated her flexibility and gained great experience. She started working with a veteran team of teachers in her first year and was able to navigate and develop her own unique teaching style. She has been flexible and open-minded, teaching 3 different grades in the short 4 years that she's been at Glenham, both in Gen Ed and ICT classes. She has had the opportunity to work and collaborate with many teachers in the building, and they all have helped to shape her teaching. Mrs. Addy has embraced responsive classroom practices and immersed herself into extracurriculars to build connections with students. She has taken part as the Math and STEM Club Advisor, a yearbook advisor, a math IRP teacher, and she was also the Triton Running Club coach. She is an advocate for the students that she works with. Justine recently completed her master's degree in the area of childhood education with a focus in STEM. She continues to be an asset at Glenham Elementary School. Justine is kind, fun, compassionate, personable, professional, courteous, and always willing to help out where there is a need. Mrs. Addy, or Justine, has joined and enhanced the Glenham family. Her professionalism, high standards, and commitment to academic excellence are what makes us truly fortunate to have her among our faculty and school community. I would also like to recommend Ms. Jody Welsh for tenure as a Level 3 teaching assistant. Jody Welsh has been employed with the Beacon City School District for 5 years and has excelled as a teaching assistant over the past 4 years. She has been at Glenham with me now for the past 2 years. Throughout her tenure with the district, she has worked in many grade levels in various capacities. She has great work ethic and a high level of enthusiasm for her job. She is always smiling and laughing. Jody has worked in the self-contained class, ICT class, and MAPS classes. She has formed a great working relationship with all of her colleagues and has proven to be a valuable resource in the building. I've had the opportunity to observe Jody in the ICT class, facilitating small group instruction and encouraging students when they are having a tough day. Jody has always provided assistance with lesson planning and has also provided assistance with lesson planning and writing activities to go along with crafts for student work displays. I recommend Jody Welsh receive tenure so she can continue to be a positive influence on our students for years to come.
Thank you. Principal Archer.
Good evening. I'd like to thank everybody who said such nice and kind things about Roberta Tai. As good a teacher as she was a better person, and she's definitely missed. We have one teacher at Sargent who's retiring this year, Marta Cruz. She taught pre-K at Sargent this past year and was in our district for 26 years. It was wonderful visiting her classroom every day. I witnessed how caring and patient she was with every student. The kids loved her. Her work touched so many kids' lives. She handled her teaching and all the little crises that take place with grace, patience, enthusiasm, kindness. She's a funny person, and I hope she's looking forward to her years traveling and her retirement. Congratulations, Marta. We have two teachers at Sargent up for tenure this year, Nicole Butler and Daniel Wakanik. They're both hardworking teachers and they've been wonderful assets at Sargent. Nicole got her start teaching 5th grade. Since her first year, she's taught 3rd grade and 4th grade in both gen ed and inclusion settings. Her students and parents love her. She's taken on leadership roles with our equity team, engagement, and helped start our Girls on the Run team. Nicole's a meticulous lesson planner and ensures that every student gets opportunities to share their experiences. Our classroom is an inviting and fun room. And Nicole attended SUNY Oneonta and New Paltz. Daniel Wakanik got her start teaching in our AIS reading classroom. For the past year, she has done a superb job teaching in 4th grade. Her calm demeanor and empathy for her students makes the classroom experiences wonderful for each and every student. It's been great working with Danielle. Danielle attended SUNY New Paltz, and I wish them both luck and continued hard work for all the students at Sargent Elementary. Thank you.
Thank you, Principal Archer, and I'm terribly sorry for missing out on Marta Cruz.
No problem.
Yeah, thank you for doing such a great job with that. And then lastly, our Superintendent Landau for Cassandra Ostrov.
Hi, it's my pleasure tonight to recommend tenure for the elementary principalship for Cassandra Orser. She has really done a strong job at Glenham the last several years as the principal. She's a strong instructional leader. She's very dedicated to the Glenham community, attends all events, is at the school for long hours, and she passes, I think, one of the most important tests for an elementary principal, or really any principal, and that, excuse me, and that is you cannot walk down the hallway for longer than a few seconds before a student stops her to talk to her, say hi, or just check in, and she always knows everybody's name, and so that to me means a lot as someone who was a principal for a long time myself. So Cassandra, welcome aboard, and I just want to say to everybody else, for the folks receiving tenure tonight, it's just kind of the next step in the journey, and we're very excited to have you with us for the long haul, and be a part of all the next steps and exciting things that are happening in education and happening here in Beacon. And we're really also glad that you've chosen to be with us. And to all the folks retiring, it's I think it needs to be said that when you look at the list of experienced educators that are leaving us this year, that from my perspective, and probably from a lot of administrators' perspectives, and certainly a lot of other people in the community, it's actually a really scary thing to be losing that wisdom and that experience and that collegiality, that teamwork, all of the above. I'm incredibly grateful to have worked with all of you the past 3 years, and I'm just very grateful as a superintendent, as a resident of Beacon, as a dad, for the long tenures you've put in to the Beacon City School District. It's really a powerful group of people, both receiving tenure tonight and also retiring. And like it has been said a bunch of times, my hope is for the folks retiring that you stay a part of our lives and stay in touch, help us out, and keep working with kids if that's appropriate. So thank you all for your service. Thanks to the principals for coming tonight, and thanks for all the folks either receiving tenure or retiring tonight for being part of the Zoom. It also goes without saying that we'd much rather be doing this in person, and and that although I know we're getting really used to doing things this way, and it's just becoming part of life, it's also really I really miss doing this evening in person, and I look forward to seeing you all soon. But thank you so much, and thanks, Phil, for putting this together tonight.
Thank you, and thank you. An excellent closure. That was worth 39 minutes for such an amazing group, wasn't it? Yeah. So thank you, everybody. I would be remiss if I did not mention just quickly the names of people who have retired this year, as well, like earlier in the year. Sheila Blair, bus driver after 17 years. Edward Bedell, maintenance mechanic after 7.5 years. Candice Bentivegna, TA after 40 years. We have Carol Curtis, 18.2 years. We have Donna Hicks, a bus driver, 15.5 years. We have Darlene Mazzaconi, cook manager after 36.3 years. We have Maureen McGordy, administrative school secretary, 12 years. Gail Morgan, and I know I'm missing, Pat Hasapsis. She was administrative school secretary after 11.5 years, and Jolene Verdeel, I apologize for chopping up the name, typist for 21.1 years. So lots to celebrate. Congratulations to all of you, and I wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. I just wanted to give another moment if the retirees wanted to say something. You know, you could put in the chat feature and Mike will unmute you. I didn't know if everyone had a chance if they wanted to address and talk story or something. I'm not seeing anything. All right.
Anthony?
Yes.
So before we move on, I want to make a motion to flip item 3 with item 4. I noticed that we have a workshop after public comment. Usually we have workshops before public comment. I'd like to, I know there's some folks here that are looking for the workshop and are here to provide public comment related to the workshop. So I wanted to see if we can consolidate that and just have the the workshop number 2 first before the public comment.
So your motion is to adjust 3.01 with 4.01.
Yeah, swap 3 with 4.
Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second.
Comments or questions?
Anthony, what is the intent again? I didn't quite get what you were saying.
So usually we have the workshops before public comment period. So it would be consistent with the precedent that we had. And I know we have, we have folks from a meeting that we participated on Thursday that were interested to hear the workshop and then provide public comment. And they weren't aware of the Wednesday statement that we had made. So I think it would benefit everyone to hear the workshop before they make comments.
Can I ask a question related? Do we have a set schedule for the workshop or a structure for the workshop?
Who are you asking, James?
I think, well, do you know the answer? Whoever knows the answer.
I think my thoughts were where I was going to try to sort of on a more informal basis share some of our thoughts about some next steps we want to take as a district or we're planning on taking as a district, and then let the board discuss. I think, although I'm not the one who sets the agenda, I think the thought for having for having public comment first was we have done it a few times this year, and it was just because people would be joining the meeting and be able to let them share what they need to share, at an earlier part of the meeting.
Well, I want to know, just to understand, I think it's great. I know we're all excited to hear the district report of what we have done and what the next steps are planned. In terms of the board discussion and the board comment, will we all have time to kind of just respond to what we've been listening to, and to have sort of really just kind of an open opportunity for everyone to kind of say what they feel like needs to be said at this moment, in addition to discussion?
Well, it is court committee reports, including board comments. So if you have any comments that, I mean, they're not limited. The rationale behind the public comment being first was when we were developing the agenda, we thought it would be good to hear what the public had to say so we can intertwine it into the discussion as to the board statement. So that was the rationale behind it. I have no strong opinion either way. I think it was mutually agreed upon between the people that were setting the agenda.
Well, and I think, we have a long history with public comment. We've made some changes over the years. We've made it longer. We've moved it around the agenda. I personally have always felt that if it were earlier in the meeting, that it gives people the opportunity to say their piece and then not stay on for the rest if they don't want to. I understand that, many people who are making public comment tonight, if they are, it's going to be related to the workshop. I also think this is one of many workshops on this subject. So I don't know, that I would personally love to hear from people.
All right, so the motion is on to, Kristen, were you trying to say something?
I just thought also, if anyone raised issues during their comment that Matt could speak to, then it made sort of more sense for the comment to be for the workshop, so it can be woven into his remarks.
Could we have 2 comment periods? One before and one after?
I mean, that's what I was trying to avoid. I mean, I know Matt has made responses to public comments during his superintendent report. So that's why I thought that would be appropriate there. But if you want 2 public comment periods, I mean, I'm fine with that. I'm just trying to engage the public.
Well, that's not on the table. What's on the table is to switch 3 and 4. So we have to address that first. And if someone wants to make another motion to add an item to the agenda, they can add it and then the board would vote on it. So
Well, can I amend the motion to make, I'd like to amend the motion to have 2 Board comments, one before, one after.
James, did you say 2 board comments or 2 public comment
I'm
periods?
sorry, two public comment periods.
Thought so.
Is there a second to the amendment?
I'll second it.
All right, so we're voting on it. Comments or questions or discussion about the amendment, which is to add 2 workshops to the, an additional workshop, public comment to the agenda, which would be one before and then one after.
Honestly, my thinking is just, why not? If it settles everyone's concerns and offers more opportunity for more input is better. But it's not a hill I need to climb.
Any other comments? All those in favor of amending it to have a workshop before and a workshop after?
You mean a public comment
For
period?
public comment.
Public comment before and then a public comment after.
Workshop.
And can, just so I make sure and get the count correctly, can I do a roll call and just ask people as we go?
Sure.
All right, I'm going to go on my screen. Meredith?
Aye.
James?
Yes.
Anthony?
Yes.
Kristen?
I think she can hear
Kristen?
you.
Thumbs up? Flora?
Aye.
Mike?
Yes.
Bear with me. I lost my video feed. I'm sorry. Alyssa?
Yes.
Okay, and I'm fine with it as well. 9-0. All right. So now we need, so we accepted the amendment to add a, it really wasn't an amendment. It was more of a new a new motion, but. Anthony, you withdrawn your motion?
Whatever's clever.
Anthony is going to withdraw his motion. Okay. All right, so we have a, I need a motion to waive policy 1230, public comment to allow the public to participate via video conferencing.
So moved. Anthony.
Is there a second?
Second.
Craig?
Second.
Craig, I forgot to call you before. Were you okay with the amendment?
Yes.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried 9-0. Even though policy 1230 is waived, we're still going to ask the public to stay to 4 minutes, and we're going to keep public comment for no longer than 60 minutes. So if anybody would like to address the board, there is a chat feature. All I ask is that you type in your name, and then what we'll do is we'll recognize you when it's time to speak. I'll keep track of who's typed in on the chat feature, and then I'll ask Mr. Keeley to unmute you so we can recognize you to speak to the board.
Just a clarifying question. Can the same speaker speak both times?
No, that's so typically in 1230, we're trying to follow policy 1230, even though it's video conferencing and we have to waive it. We're asking the people to still adhere to policy 1230 procedures as to the 4 minutes, address the board once, and then the public comment would go no longer than 60 minutes. So I do have one person that has chatted and who is Aaron.
Anthony, I have a question. I'm sorry. Was James' question that you answered that the same person cannot communicate in both public comment sessions, or just the same public comment session?
There is technically no board policy because we suspend policy 1230. What I was stating was we're asking people that are addressing the board to still practice the policy rules, even though it's through video conferencing of 4 minutes and no more than 60 minutes. In regards to addressing the board twice, there's 2 public comments. I would say that they still adhere. So I don't know if you want to do 30 minutes and 30 minutes, or if you wanted to do 60 minutes and 60 minutes. I'd say typically we wouldn't allow public people, we wouldn't allow the public to address the board twice. However, it's a workshop style. So if that's up to the board to decide when we get through that first, I would say let's get through the first public comment. Aaron, I see.
Hi, is this the right time to talk on behalf of the parent group for Sergeant PTO?
Is it in regards to the board statement that we adopted last board meeting, or is this just an update on the PTO?
Nope, just a parent group update on the PTO.
You can share it at this time. It is a public comment, so you can share it. It doesn't have to be to the board statement, so you can share it at this time.
I don't want to take away time from the public comment if my time would be could be used at a later time.
I just have to review the agenda to see if we do have something. We do not have we don't have on the agenda tonight about student and parent comments, so this would be the only time to do it.
Okay, then I'd like to speak. Thank you. Hello, Beacon City School District administrators and the Board of Education. My name is Erin Junta. I'm the president of the Sargent Elementary PTO. On behalf of the Sargent board members, I'd like to say thank you very much for the terrific job you've all been doing since mid-March to help the students of Beacon receive healthy meals, continue their education via last-minute distance learning protocols, and work to implement a safe and enriching learning environment in the upcoming school year. We acknowledge that these past 3 months have been extremely challenging, and we commend you for your dedication to our kids. This goes to all the teachers and staff for all of the schools. Thank you. I wanted to update the Board of Education and the community on just some of the Sargent PTO activities that we've been doing since mid-March. Just before schools closed in March, we launched a fundraiser to purchase seeds from Hudson Valley Seed Company. We quickly transitioned the fundraiser to be available online after the schools closed, and we raised $575 from the greater community and Sargent parents during that fundraiser. Thank you to all who supported Sargent and the Hudson Valley Seed Company by planting vegetables and flowers to help benefit our local ecosystem. With the money raised from the Sargent student body during our first penny wars, more than $1,800, we purchased and installed a red maple tree in the Sargent traffic circle. Thank you to a Sargent family-owned local business, One Nature, for the donation of the installation and labor costs. Thanks to PTO Vice President Eileen Shepard for spearheading the project, and the teachers and staff for being so supportive of the collections, the volunteers for helping collect and count change, and especially to the kids and the families who brought in their change to make a change. We donated leftover snacks from our PTO closet with all of our snacks that we normally have at events to Ms. Pagano to distribute to Fairground and all of the grocery distributions at the end of the year. We want to thank very much Ms. Pagano, Fairground, and the dozens of teacher and community member volunteers who helped distribute meals and groceries to this community. The PTO funded the purchase of yearbooks for any fifth grader at Sargent who didn't order one, so to ensure that they ended their school year with a book of memories of their last year at Sargent. The PTO purchased Target gift cards and distributed them to every staff member and teacher at Sargent for Teacher Appreciation Week. And finally, the PTO awarded 2 $750 scholarships, one to Brianna Richardson and one to Sabrina Tutazzi, Beacon High School seniors who attended Sargent. Congratulations to them and to the other outstanding candidates who applied. We were extremely impressed with the caliber of achievement that our applicants demonstrated. These are just a few of the many projects we've been able to accomplish with the financial support and donation of time from our parent and caregiver community, teachers and staff and PTO members. This is how the PTO spends money raised from fundraising efforts, from membership donations, family fun nights, book fairs, and events like Trivia Night. All money raised goes back into our school and our community. This is all possible because of support from the parents and the community and teachers at Sargent. You are the PTO. Thank you. Beginning earlier this year, the PTO has been having an ongoing discussion of an action plan to support diversity initiatives within our school and district. We released a statement on June 9th available on our Facebook page, which says, "We, the board of the Sargent Elementary School PTO, want to express absolute support for movements for Black lives and racial justice. We hope leaders in our school district and buildings and the parents in our school community will commit with us to face and address the roots and destructive impacts of racism, both historical and present day, in all areas of society, including the educational system. We commit to increasing the PTO support and advocacy for anti-racism programming for all members of our school community. We advocate for curriculum that is inclusive and empowering of non-white perspectives. We support proactive efforts to hire more teachers who are people of color. And we support policy changes that will ensure Black students and all students of color feel safe reporting experiences of racism at school. And finally, we work to increase the involvement of people of color in the school community planning. We welcome and invite any member of our community to work with us to help make our PTO meetings and our PTO board more representative of the community we serve. We acknowledge we can do better, and we are energized to build new ways of engaging and involving all of our school families. We humbly ask for any input, support, suggestions, and volunteers. We will be hosting our final PTO meeting of the year, the school year, this Thursday, June 25th at 7 p.m. via Zoom. The link is available on our Facebook page. We will also be hosting a listening and Q&A session later this summer about the PTO. We welcome your attendance and we welcome your feedback. Stay safe and healthy and have a great summer. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mike, up next is Miss Anderson Tahara.
Hi, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Board of Education. Pretty much she summed up what I was going to say in terms of the diversity initiatives that we would like to see as parents and communities. I'm a longtime Glenham resident, started my school at Glenham, graduated '99 from BHS, parent of a student who just graduated 2020 BHS. And just as we reimagine education for New York, I would like us to reimagine American history, US history, so we can have a multicultural approach to our students and their education. So I just wanted to propose that to the board. And I also sent an email, and I'm gonna resend the email to the general mailbox with some resources and tips, because I'm also involved with diversity and corrections. I'm involved with other nonprofit organizations for diversity and inclusion and in criminal justice as well. So I think this is a starting point of the conversation. I would like to see where it's going to go in the near future and beyond. So that's all I wanted to say this evening.
Thank you. Ms. Friedman?
Hi, I'm coming. I'm getting my video started. Hello. My name is Ilana Friedman. I run the BHA preschool at Beacon Hebrew Alliance, and I've been teaching for almost 20 years. And my husband, Brian Quinn, he's the director of One Nature, who has helped design the Wee Woods and the new park at Green Street, as well as making the donation Aaron mentioned. And I want to start by just reiterating how grateful I am and proud I am to be part of the district. My daughter just finished first grade. During one of the most challenging times that we could have imagined. Our district was led by some very compassionate and proactive leaders. So this is a statement I want to share. As contingency plans develop for our school's fall 2020 programming, I would like to make the case that outdoor spaces are key to a positive outcome. Mounting evidence indicates that COVID-19 rarely spreads outside. Very few cases around the world can be traced to open-air interactions. Now, many progressive public school districts and private schools in the USA, as well as entire school systems abroad, are looking toward open-air school time to help mitigate the risk of spread. For some, this means outdoor classrooms with whiteboards and logs or chairs as seats. For others, this might mean increased supervised playtime in fields, in forests, or even on blacktops. BCSD staff did a commendable job of developing online learning on the spot. Now that we have time to plan, we can develop components to remote curricula that includes physical, material, outdoor activity in the green spaces around our schools. Children receiving special services such as physical and occupational therapy thrive from outdoor sessions with their therapists. Community building and social curriculum like responsive classrooms morning meeting can be all the more joyful and meaningful on a grassy field. You have to leave right now, I'm on video, thanks. Sorry about that. Common Core math and ELA lessons, as well as science, social studies, and art curricula are easily explored while seated on a circle of stumps or by observing the natural environment, gathering data, questions, and ideas on clipboards or in notebooks. Throughout my professional life as a teacher and as a director of garden-based programming, I have observed the countless benefits that come from natural play and learning spaces, especially when children are otherwise asked to turn to screens for learning. As the director of Beacon Hebrew Alliance's garden-based preschool, I have witnessed the joy of families as they return to our school garden during scheduled intervals. Children are thrilled to return to their learning place to do familiar school activities. And this summer, they'll be visiting regularly to water the garden and check on the vegetables and also borrow from our new mini anti-racism library. If in-person education is not allowed this fall, or if it is only possible to host students on staggered schedules, our students would need real-life places to learn and play with social distance all the more. If we are not able to open for a full school day for all children, I hope that BCSD commits to providing quality childcare to families in need of it during regular school hours. Available open-air spaces would make this easier. BCSD's partnership with Land to Learn, Green Teens, Common Ground Farm, and the Rec Center, among other groups that specialize in working with students out of doors, would surely be valuable resources in this effort. My husband, Brian, as I mentioned, the principal of One Nature, his company has been responsible for helping renovate some spaces like this. And I hope that One Nature and my school, BHA Preschool, can be of service in developing student outdoor access on school grounds as well. I advocate that BCSD band together with existing partners right now during this time of planning to build infrastructure, provide professional development, or provide staffing support. Mounting evidence points to the intrinsic value of being outdoors. It boosts students' social, emotional, and mental well-being. These are of great importance as we welcome everyone back to school following isolation and in many cases trauma caused by the pandemic. And remember, the virus is rarely spread in the open air. There are many hurdles to starting up the new school year again, no matter how you cut it. But the hurdles involved in ensuring more outdoor school time are relatively small, while the potential gains are groundbreaking. As Sargent parents, we're really grateful to have you at the helm of Beacon Schools. And we would like to offer our energy, resources, and experience to ensure outdoor learning and playtime for students when school resumes. I thank you for considering this appeal, and I await your response as to how we can help with the next steps.
Thank you. Ms. Mickelson?
Hello, hi there. Can you hear me?
We're good.
Okay, great, thank you. Thank you so much for having this forum. I just wanted to, there's so much to say, but I wanted to just make the point that there's only 75 people on this conference call. And last week I learned that the survey that went out, there were about 1,000, you can correct me if I'm wrong, about 1,000 responses from the survey. And is that correct, Matt? How many responses you got?
Yeah, for the distance learning survey.
Yeah. So I just want to point out that there's about 3,000 students in the district. And if you times that by 2, counting the parents, there's at least 6,000 parents, caregivers who are responsible for these children. So out of the 6,000, only 1,000 of those 6,000 actually responded to the survey. So those numbers are really small. And one of my concerns, and something I really hope that the Board of Ed and the staff will consider, is really making a concerted effort to reach out to the communities that are not having a voice right now in these types of forums. There's a lot of people right now really struggling. They're struggling with the pandemic. They're struggling with the racial injustice that's happening. So it's important that we make the effort to reach out and activate the community. We have amazing resources in Beacon. We have people who are already doing this work. And I'm sure if we activate them, we can really accomplish a lot. I just really want to make that space available for people, which was my intention with hosting the talk last week, because we need more platforms. We need more people represented. And I really, truly believe in all of my years of being in education and working with school districts and running a school, that parents are an integral part of the education of their children. And we are all in the trenches right now, and we need a voice. All the parents need a voice. And so I really want to make the plea to you guys, make the effort. And there are mechanisms out there. There's people who would volunteer. I want to offer my services. Let's activate the community so we can really get an understanding of where parents are at, what their needs are, and let's talk to the kids, because they should have a voice in their education as well. And I'll leave it at that for now. Thank you.
The next person I have is Priscilla's iPhone. I don't know if you want to make a comment.
Hi, I'm Priscilla Kelly. I'm from New Covenant Learning Center, located 95 Catherine Street. And I just received this a couple days ago. I guess this adopted statement. And I'm very concerned. I just had a meeting with the superintendent on last Monday, and I have just simple questions. Like it states that, it says, while also recognizing that we still have much to learn and changes in order to fully address the racism in our institution, we recognize that our school have not always succeeded. I'm glad you recognize that at this, and apologize to those who have failed to serve. I have simple questions like, we've been in existence for 12 years at 95 Catherine, and we can't get simple things like a phone call returned, an email returned, an answer to simple questions as far as, why haven't my teacher been paid for 3.5 months? Stuff like that. I spoke to the superintendent. I've asked Eric Wright. I've spoken to Anne Marie. Still, we cannot get the answers, and it's been a long time coming. I've been lied to. I've been ignored. Our students haven't gotten the things that they deserve. And we would have to first start acknowledging first that there is a problem, which you have, and identify where the discrimination starts. And I believe it starts at the top. And I would like to sit down or even one-on-one with someone, but it's gotten to the point where enough is enough. Our school have been neglected, ignored, act like we don't exist, but yet still we're doing the best that we can. We're producing students that are excellent in their academics. We have a daycare that was ignored. I have a parent that applied for that grant, and she told me today that they denied her because she wanted to send her child to New Covenant Learning Center. And I was very distraught. Why should you just pick one daycare when we have all of these other daycares that's available, that's actually a school/daycare, and we were ignored? There's a lot of questions that needs to be addressed, and we have to also first identify where all the discrimination is taking place. It's easy to say that it's happening, but you have to pinpoint where it's happening, and it's definitely happening from the top and it's slowing down. And I would like to have that addressed. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Christine Alicia.
Hi, everyone. My first time here, part of this meeting. I just wanted to, I guess, give an update that I had produced a scholarship called the BHS Student Scholarship, and I was able to raise $1,350 in a matter of 3 days The scholarship recipient has been selected to a wonderful gal by the name of Dior Gillens. She's an outgoing, energetic, athletic, and academically driven individual who is aspiring to become a future electrical and computer science engineer. Part of my first time experiencing this scholarship coordination process, I had the opportunity to listen to these students' voices and hear out their concerns in regards to their high school and the programs that they are being offered at this time. You know, this year has been such a year, and it was definitely a place in my heart to really want to connect with the students personally and to really hear out their voices and to really hear out their challenges that they face and how this pandemic had affected or, you know, challenged their learning capabilities and connecting with others in the community. So a few of the concerns that they had voiced was, and this is something that I definitely want to advocate because of the concern of, you know, basing off of what Donna had mentioned about certain families are not being reached out to. You know, some of these students had mentioned that they want more classes pertaining into life set skills, like more financial literacy programs. I had spoken to a student who lives in a home with 11 other family members and struggles and, you know, through daily life and has to share one bathroom with 11 people in her home. And these are the students that I'm legitimately concerned about because they're doing everything in their willpower to do the right thing, follow the rules, the system, you know, confide into their counselors, guidance counselors, social workers, but they had expressed and voiced their concern that they are hungry to learn and that they want to be able to be successful in this world. And I definitely commend you guys for, you know, increasing the computer science programs that you guys have advanced, but people, I mean, students have voiced the concerns of more financial literacy, which is definitely lacking in the system. And it's a big concern for me because coming from, I'm a Latina woman, and that wasn't a program that was provided growing up. And so I definitely want to advocate, whether if it's literally setting up a table at some of these health clinics that are in our community, kind of stemming off with what Donna was mentioning, part of what we can do to advocate and to reach out to a certain community, especially with financial hardship and feelings of concerns of not being heard or being supported. I strongly believe that I mean, I would be happy to advocate and reach out to those certain communities that are somewhat segregated from not knowing what to do. And so I'm willing to do whatever it takes, and whoever I need to partner up with or speak to, I would be happy to do that. Tailing off of the whole financial literacy, I am very well connected with a lot of people who are in nonprofit organizations that promote financial literacy in the city-bound schools. And so, you know, I'm just kind of coming up to you guys saying that, hey, provide the tools for students, especially in Beacon, because I live here. And really, it was just really great to speak to all the students who had applied for the scholarship and just express their concerns. You know, to be honest, some students are just really shy to ask. And, you know, I think that there is a level of uncertainty that they don't know how to begin. So it really takes that courage to step and say, hey, teacher, I need help. And a lot of times those students don't take that step. So the students that had applied to the scholarship had made the effort to connect to those students, to guide them and tell them what they know. But I'm just seeing that there is a little bit of a hole here that I would love to help contribute my time to really support that area, especially for the students who are just not knowing what to do or how they live their lives. I think that's it. Thanks.
Thank you, and you'll notice that the scholarship is on for approval tonight on tonight's board meeting, so thank you. No one else has went to the chat feature to express that they would like to address the board. So seeing that no one else has used the chat feature to acknowledge that they want to address the board, we can move to the workshop piece.
Hi. Oh, go ahead, Anthony. Sorry.
No, you're good.
So in the letter that the board put out, the letter stated that tonight was an opportunity to talk about or develop some strategies for moving forward for the district. So instead of doing a formal presentation, like I said at the beginning of the meeting, I'm just going to kind of walk through some steps that we're taking either this summer or for next school year or both. And then I thought it would be good to just have the board open into a discussion about it. So I mentioned I sent an email out to the community on Friday that at the beginning of my time here, I had different talking points, but one of them was the phrase "listen, learn, lead," and that's not those are three words that need to keep happening and need to be a part of the process of leadership at all times. And so you'll see part of our thinking is really emphasizing the listening part. And so I'm very appreciative to all the people who spoke during public comment. I'll follow up with folks who asked for follow-up. And so thank you for coming to the meeting tonight and speaking. And one of the commenters mentioned really emphasizing student voice. And so one of our first plans for this summer is to do as large a number of possible talking circles that we can do with our high school students and our middle school students. We want it to be a safe place for our kids, so we've worked with Duchess Mediation. They do a lot of our circles anyway. We've had a relationship with them for a couple of years, and they are the group that has helped us implement or begin to implement restorative practices at our secondary schools. And so they've agreed to work with us this summer, along with next school year, which is already being planned, just to set up talking circles, either depending on health guidelines, either in person in a socially distanced and safe manner or online. And so we'll be working with our staff at the high school and the middle school. We'll be working with folks in the community, parents, students, and student leaders to generate a lot of students to be a part of this. And I think my sense is that the conversations will probably go in a lot of directions because I know there's a lot of concerns on the minds of our students. One of the things that we'd like to do, if some groups feel safe, is to be a part of the conversation, and that being administrators, either at the school or at central administration or both, to be a part of the conversation and hearing what's on students' minds and helping them inform our work moving forward. So that will be starting. Duchess Mediation is in the midst of kind of an intense week this week, doing some community work, and so we won't be able to start with them until after this week is over, but we'll start reaching out and recruiting students within the next few days and into next week to get this going. But it will be a process that takes place over the course of the summer. We will keep working with restorative practices. That's something that we have been working at for a couple of years at our secondary level. We want to expand the professional development that the teachers have received, and we also want to expand the number of circles that students experience. We're pleased as a first step that we had weekly circles that a number of students were involved in, and we think it's healthy to expand that. As a side note, even though this is very important, the equity report card is something that we've been working on for a long time. We had some bumps in the road in terms of changing staff and also the closure with the pandemic sort of got in the way of getting some of this done with both the outside person we're working with and our internal folks. That being said, our equity report card will be coming out probably. I think it would make sense to discuss it at the second board meeting in July or the first one in August or both, or have it being part of the ongoing conversation. But one of the things I can preview is that if you look at our discipline data for our secondary schools from 2018-19 up until March 13th, and you look at our discipline data from this past year up until March 13th, at both Rombout and Beacon High School, we saw a decrease in suspensions, a decrease in the number of the amount of time students were out on suspension, a decrease in in-school suspension, and we think that's directly tied to obviously a lot of changes in practice, but it's directly tied to the restorative work. We think it's just a first step, but it's a good step, and we want to keep going down that journey. At the elementary level, we've invested in training teachers the last couple of years in responsive classroom, and it's a community building model for elementary. It was mentioned, I think, in one of the comments as well. So we have another cohort that we're going to be training this summer in that. And I got the pleasure of seeing a lot of different elementary teachers keep doing it during the closure, even though it's harder to do on a Google Meet, to keep doing it and implementing, and that was really powerful. I think another really important step that we need to take this summer is to work on curriculum and really try with our curriculum to make it more affirming for our students, more reflective of the diversity of our student population, but also grappling with difficult issues that we're facing in society, we're facing in our community, and we're facing in our district. So this is not a list. It's not an exhaustive list, but some of the materials that we're looking at are the National Education Association, their diversity toolkit, especially the ones with race and social justice, and then they have a variety of toolkits, but they have one also on sexual orientation and gender identity. So that's a good resource. We've had a number of teachers actually over the last few weeks reach out to us, which is great that it's kind of coming from both sides. Teachers wanting to take time this summer to either incorporate into their existing curriculum or develop new curriculum with using that toolkit. We're also looking at the Teaching Tolerance website and their materials, not just their website, and trying to incorporate that into our curriculum work. And then lastly is some work that's a little bit closer to me. It's some work from the district that I came from in Ithaca the last couple of years. Teachers in that district have developed what they call anti-marginalization units that are, I think, kind of span K to 12. And the two learning targets that they have for their units are, one is I can recognize and respond to complex issues of identity, diversity, prejudice, and power in learning communities. The second learning target is I can explain how marginalization is constructed at an individual and at an institutional level, excuse me. So we feel like we have definitely internal folks. We have teachers reaching out, wanting to make the changes. We're structuring our curriculum work to reflect that. We also want to partner up with some outside experts when applicable and when we can do it, so they can provide feedback guidance for some of this curriculum work. The first major step, I mean, some of this has been happening with individual teachers over the past several years, but this is a multi-year effort. We'll take a big first step for sure this summer and be updating the board and the community on our work on that. I think it's also it's also important with our curriculum work that we develop or utilize some sort of rubric for the different aspects I've been talking about, just to make sure that it can be applied over time to every teacher's classroom. So communication is definitely, obviously, a huge part of this. This past year, we had, I think, at least in my opinion, we had an active diversity committee This year it's switched over. It used to be a board committee and it became sort of more of an administrative committee. I honestly don't really think that's the important part. But this year we decided to make it more of a working group, and we formed 3 different smaller groups in that committee. And one focused on our code of conduct and restorative practices, looking at data, looking at what we're doing as a district. Another focused on our hiring practices. And just to briefly talk about that, I, as the superintendent of the district, and Bill Ralone's job is to work closely with this part, is to really dedicate ourselves to diversifying our teaching staff, our administrative staff, and all of our units. And so with every hiring, we try to cast as far a look as possible. We try to have a diverse group of people in front of our interview committees, and we're committed to, over time, making Beacon a much more diverse staff. I should mention the work both with the curriculum work and the restorative practices work and the code of conduct revisions. Eric Wright is the point person on that, our other assistant superintendent. And, you know, part of our inspiration for doing talking circles this summer was that Eric did a number of talking circles a year ago, last spring, when we were revising the code of conduct, and he met with a lot of different students at the secondary level to talk about the changes and things that they wanted to see in the code of conduct, and we've been pleased with the implementation for that this year. So back to the communication part, there's 2 major things we need to be communicating about this summer. One is this work that I've laid out, and I'm just giving you some broad strokes because I want the board and our staff and other community members to weigh in and give us their feedback on it, but is to communicate about that work. But also we have a large task ahead of us, and it's been mentioned in a few of the comments as well, about reopening the district or what the plan is for next year. Like I've said a few times, either in writing or with groups I've spoken with, that we are eagerly awaiting the state guidelines, and once we get those, we're really going to dive in. It's kind of conjecture at this point. I mean, we can guess, but seeing those state guidelines really help guide our work. And we're looking at a lot of different things. We're looking at the possibility, and I think some of these decisions will be kind of above our heads, so to speak, as a district, but could be that we're closed again and doing full distance learning. Another is some sort of hybrid. Social distancing is required, and we cannot have all of our students in school. And then another is just that we're open with the full amount of students with health guidelines. So there are probably 1,000 or 2 questions that need to be answered with that, and a lot of input that we need to gather. So once we get the state guidelines, we're going to be working with each school community to develop plans. We obviously have to make them consistent amongst the 6 schools, but we want input from our internal stakeholders and our external stakeholders with that too. In terms of the distance learning, I think we came up with some really sort of summary of the responses for that. And I think I'm just trying to kind of respond to some of the comments that came up in the presentation. I think definitely we need to have a bit more structure. Definitely students are craving some more authentic learning experiences and more accountability with the whole model from all ends, and more interaction, and that being the most important part. And so I saw as a parent, and I know a lot of people saw this, that the interaction part was a struggle to do it online. It was such a big change to do it on a Zoom, but even so, it was very important, and we definitely need to increase that. So, so we have a lot of things that we're working on. This back to the student voice part. Sorry, I missed part of what I said. We have, one of the principals mentioned this in the 10-year review. We have equity leadership teams in all of our buildings. Right now, those are filled by adults, and so we want to add students to those committees, and we will add students to those committees. That will be at all of our schools, high school, middle school, and elementary schools. So we want to increase student voice. We want to do a lot of listening with our students, either in person or through a mediator this summer to hear what's on their mind. We want that to help inform us. We want to use data to inform our practices. We want to build on some of the things that we've already started, like restorative practices, responsive classroom. We really wanted to start digging in, and it was exciting to see the high level of teacher motivation on this end, to making some revisions and changes and overhauls to our curriculum through a lens of inclusion and diversity and anti-racism. We've offered to purchase the book, How to Be an Anti-Racist, for anyone in the school district, any internal person in the school district. We've had a large number of people take us up on that, and so we'll be getting those books out to folks probably in the next week or two. So we have a lot of things that we're building on, a lot of steps that will feel new. I think it's also important to note that this is necessary work, and it's also uncomfortable for some folks, and I think that shows growth. And so, so I'm not at all at any sort of end game. I feel like we've just started to take the first few steps. I'm not at all satisfied with where we are, but I will say I've been very, very proud of the number of students who've participated with us in these conversations and discussions, and the number of teachers and administrators who joined in all this training with us and this work over the last few years. So I just wanted to provide kind of an overview. I wanted to do it informally, and I wanted to throw it out to the board just to discuss, because that's what you all stated in the letter. So I wanted to give you a chance to talk about it a little bit, give us feedback, and also answer questions if you have any.
Any questions for me?
I do. I have, well, probably have a lot of questions. That all sounded really great, Matt. Thank you. Thank you for that. That was very, very informative. It's great to hear. I have some comments on a lot of things, but I don't want to give it all at once, so we have a little bit of a back and forth. I'm particularly interested in the talking circles. I think that's a really cool idea. It's a really great idea. I think it echoes some of the comments that we were hearing from some of the parents who spoke up, just about wanting to have more access to how we're going to listen. This has been something that I've been trying to wrap my head around for 2 years since I've been on the board. Is I so often will find myself, I seek out groups of students, and I've employed students, I've gone to Green Teens, I've been around many of the protests and activisms happening, and I talk to the young people, and I find that literally every single student that I've ever spoken to, from grade 4 to seniors, I've said just, have you ever witnessed or experienced any prejudice at school or discrimination or bias? And every single time a student will say yes. They won't shut up about it. Honestly, they just like, they want, like, just me walking up to them and saying, can you tell me about that? They'll tell me. But then there seems to be some obstacle to these complaints going up the ladder and making their way to any kind of formal impression to kind of know. So it's kind of, I'm always, from my side of it, I'm like, well, the district wants to hear this. And there seems to be some resistance to the students voluntarily seeking out that. So talking circles certainly seems like a great first step in that. I had the thought of, curious if it's possible to do some kind of survey that maybe gets that could be a bilingual survey that gets mailed to students and their families. Just really literally asking them if they've witnessed these kinds of situations. And maybe also be useful to reiterate the process for registering formal complaints. So that's kind of a comment question I'm putting out there.
Sure. Yeah, we'll look into a survey to both see what's out there and see what we can get out. I will say this, and this is anecdotal, that I have seen. I've seen more things. I've seen more. I don't know the right word. I've seen more kind of movement on both ends, both on the student end and the administrator end, to try to seek out some resolution to some issues. And I think part of it is because of the circle work and the restorative practices work, but and I'll say this a bunch of times, we have a long way to go with that. And I certainly want a district where students feel like they have someone they can turn to and either report things or try to work through a problem. But I have seen some things that maybe a few years ago I would have seen sort of come out in a different way. And I saw groups of students and staff try to work through some issues, especially this past year. That was nice to see.
As a follow-up, could you reiterate the process for filing a complaint or registering a complaint from a student or parent's perspective?
Sure, that would be officially under the Dignity for All Students Act. Eric Wright is our district DASA coordinator, and so I'll let him speak to that.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Landau. Whenever a parent or student has a complaint to lodge, one way that they can go about it is that they can fill out the form that's on the district website. That's a form that's on the district website. That form is then turned in normally to the school principal. The principal is the DASA coordinator for their building. And from there, the student may be called in to have a conversation, with the student who's making the complaint may be called in to have a conversation with the administrator, which is the DASA coordinator, as I said, and then from there, an investigation is launched. Normally, I would say most times, if not all times, I am informed at the very beginning of the process so that I can know what's going on and I can give support, to the DASA coordinator at each building. There are times when we have to involve our attorneys for some support. Other times I'm able to handle it and make sure that it's going about the right way. As at the end of the investigation, there's a piece within the form that has to be filled out by the DASA coordinator, and then the form is kept, and then the findings are given to the parent and the student.
And can I ask one more question about that? Just response to that, Eric. Are there? Thank you for that answer. Are there any explicit protections that we could vocalize now to any parents or parents or students who might have apprehension of reporting something because they will still have to work with that teacher or security guard or whatever, or students, whatever the situation might be? Is there any protections we can offer to reassure them?
If there's some discomfort, they should report directly to me, as the district DASA coordinator. And then from there, I will work it back to the building level, ensuring that they feel comfortable within the process.
So is Anthony, I guess so I look forward to when the report card comes out. I'm sure it's a tool that we can use. It's not the end. I believe it would be the beginning of data that we can use to look at issues that may be happening across the district. The report card will not only have statistics, but will have recommendations as well. The recommendations would be like a second tier work.
Well, it would just have data, but we're already in a sense kind of doing some of the recommendations or strategies right now and trying to strengthen them. But I think through looking at it with both staff and the board and others, we'll develop some more strategies as well. That it could involve either policy changes or practice changes or all of the above.
And are we memorializing those changes somewhere so that the parents can see what's happening?
Memorializing changes, strategy changes?
Yeah. You said strategy, you said policies, you said a couple different ways.
I mean, if we're, we try to inform folks in a variety of ways about some of the things we're doing. We always can do better. So I think if we're trying a strategy like restorative practices or responsive classroom is something that we try to update the community about in different ways. But I think it's really important from an accountability standpoint, and I think that's it's a big next step. Not a next step, but it's something very important for us as a district to communicate very regularly about what we're saying tonight. I don't view this meeting as or this work as like a one-off kind of thing. It's very much pretty. Besides reopening school right now, it is the main thing that we are working on and talking about, and has been for quite some time. And so we need to update the community in a way that keeps us accountable about moving the work forward. So I'll do that part in regular emails, and this got thrown off by the pandemic and the school closure, but we also have a strategic plan tool that will kind of, it has like a public dashboard that will update the community through our work moving forward on that too. And so we'll be able to unveil that later in the summer.
Thank you. One of the early results I saw on the report card, it's just an example, was that the AP English classes had very large participation of white students, but had very low participation by non-white students. But something like AP, I believe it was AP Math, had actually a pretty much equal participation by white and non-white students. And it was draft data, so I'm not sure if it's still consistent today. I think it was draft data from a few years back, a couple years back.
Yeah.
I mean, is that something that you think is still prevalent now? And it's what would be recommendations for something like that?
I'd need to look specifically at that, and I'll be prepared to do that at probably the meeting where we do the equity report card. I was thinking it'd be the second meeting in July. You're right in pointing out that in some of our higher level classes, the enrollment is very diverse, and probably much more so than some other districts, but then in some other classes, we have some ways to go. And I'm not exactly sure for all the reasons. So I know we've had some initial conversations with the high school about that, but we need to have more. And I think that's something that the board can have some involvement in if it's a change in, academic. I don't know if it's, capital P policy, but if it's a change in our practice at the high school, I think that's something that the board can be involved in too. But the short answer to your question is I need a little bit more time to tell you if it's still the case.
I just had a question about the curriculum writing this summer. I mean, that's not something we did budget for some curriculum writing this summer, but do we need extra PD to support the teachers in that, or what will that look like?
Well, that is a great question. We and since there's a lot of people listening tonight, it's funny. I'm usually I tend to focus as a superintendent on the community and the district, and I don't think as much about the state level. But we are continually either told or hinted at that we are looking at a drastic cut in state aid for this upcoming year. And so, at the federal government, there appears to be continued inaction on it, and the state level appears to just be sort of waiting for the feds to do something. So if folks feel inclined to advocate with who seems appropriate for that, and I know some board members maybe have some more specific thoughts, because due to these drastic cuts that might be coming our way, we have a more limited budget for this work. It's just kind of a reality. So we are trying to put as much of our resources towards this as possible. And, like the work with the restorative practices, responsive classroom, the curriculum writing work, we're trying to, if we have an outside expert helping us, it's hopefully another teacher maybe from another district who has some experience, which would be maybe little bit more of a cost-effective way of doing it. But I worry about the financial side of this, and it's real, and it doesn't seem like it's going. It doesn't seem like it's getting fixed, and maybe there is no fix. I completely understand that we're in a very tough spot as a country in terms of the economy. But we have a lot of challenges in front of us from a financial perspective. And I don't say this to belittle or to say other things are less important, but we also have unexpected costs with potentially reopening that we haven't even begun to really tabulate, and that's part of the work of this summer. So the fiscal part is a concern, but we will put our curriculum writing work toward this. We will put the PD money that we reserve towards moving this forward as well. We probably just won't be able to do maybe as much as a previous year, just as a reality.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, James. I just wanted to follow up on that just to say that I do think that looking at the way that public education is funded in terms of being an equity issue is really, really important. Maybe the PR committee can do a workshop on that, but it's something that we have been, kept in suspense for over 10 years about foundation aid, which was a Band-Aid to fix what was already a not very equitable funding situation in our state. And so I think that if people want to join us and check in with their legislators even now on a daily basis and ask them what they're doing to try to fix that, I think that's really essential, because it does, as it is, we're cutting back on PD that we had already planned for in a 3-year cycle. We will not be able to finish it as we had planned at this point. And that's really disappointing considering how successful it's been.
Yeah.
Can we supplement that need with an ask to the community to see what in-house talent we may have in the community? I mean, we definitely Matt has done a great job trying to find in-house talent within the district, but maybe the talent is not an employee of the district, but still within the community.
Are you suggesting like a volunteer?
Yeah, a volunteer, or we've heard tonight about a couple of organizations, nonprofits that offer some services of a specific kind. There's other specific things that we're looking for in terms of professional development and stuff. We may there may be some in-house talent within the community that can help with certain things.
Sure.
And I know at one point we had a parent coordinator. I think we still do. I don't know if we ever had a community coordinator, and I don't know if we need one per se, but I don't know if we ever had a formal system of doing community asks and getting out community offers.
I agree, Anthony, that taking advantage of our community is really important, and we need to figure out how to do that better. Regarding that particular professional development, I feel like it took a lot of planning and a lot of careful choosing to decide which way to go, and which was directly tied to our strategic plan. So I feel like, with all the instability that the district saw over the last 10 years before Matt came, there was a constant starting and then starting over because new leadership. So it's just especially disappointing to not be able to finish this plan.
Yeah, but we are trying hard to keep the momentum going for sure. I think one aspect that we would like to develop with the community this year, and this actually goes back to one of the comments made as well, is to have I think there's a really large need for mentorship in the community, and so kind of over the challenge of the last few months, I've had a lot of different people communicate with me about stuff, and I think tapping into tapping into people who are willing to mentor one of our young people. And there's ways to do it even when we're in the midst of a pandemic. And so I think that would be something that we would love to kind of partner with the community to create. And, I speak as someone who I think way back when, many, many years ago, what started me in education as a 19-year-old or something in college was that I was a mentor to a student throughout all of my college years. And and you don't have to be a college student, obviously, to do it. But I think there's a lot of folks in the community wanting to connect in a way. And so I think that's a potential area as well. We have a lot of students that I think would benefit from that.
I have a question related to the curriculum, kind of taking a step back, looking at it from a little bit of a different angle. I know that the board, we approve all of our textbooks. Do we know where we are on that cycle of when we have the next, is it piecemeal, or is it kind of they all come at once? And if so, kind of where are we on that schedule?
It's a little bit piecemeal, but I'll let Eric jump in.
Yes, we have, at our middle school, we've begun to look at the social studies textbooks. The social studies coordinator put in a proposal to have new materials purchased. The coordinator, along with the department, vetted some materials from different vendors. They found a resource that they really liked. Unfortunately, one of the things that happened was that when the person was supposed to present, that's when we went into distance learning. And so he was unable to present, to the curriculum committee. I had the conversation with him. He discussed the process that they went through. He provided the paperwork. And so we moved it along. So that's where we are in terms of like our social studies department. One thing that I want to go back to that Dr. Landau had alluded to in terms of like just some of the planning, that's taking place. Earlier during public comment, one of the presenters talked about U.S. history and American history and how there are ways to actually really hone in on basically accomplishments of people of color. And so one of the things that I am planning to do this summer is have us take a look at American history and U.S. history, whether at the high school or, U.S. history and, history at our middle school level, and begin to really focus on those areas that haven't been tapped into much and really bring out the contributions of people during the times of Reconstruction area and even further back and moving forward. And I think that's really important, because if we want to really have a community and a country where all people where all people really matter, and at this point in time where Black lives matter, we have to build the conditions. We have to create those conditions for empathy, to really, really be accepted and understood. So therefore, if you begin to really hone in on those areas in much more detail than it has been in the past, and that comes with curriculum writing. What will happen is that, our students will really understand, what happened during those time periods. And then from there, I really think that they will leave the school system better for it, and be able to really make great contributions in society. So, a lot of that has to do with the textbooks that are being ordered, but it also has to be with going outside of those textbooks and, using those sites like Facing History, Teaching Tolerance. There's curriculum that the New Jersey Department of Education has adopted, the Amistad curriculum. Just tapping into all those resources that are available to really help us to just improve the curriculum that we are teaching to our students.
That's amazing, Eric. Thank you. And I really appreciate that work. And I appreciate that you are the guiding hand on that work. It sounds very promising. In the interim, I'm just kind of curious, and actually I've never known this, right before the pandemic, the shutdown kind of hit, you had delivered us a list of the textbooks as part of this conversation. So it's not the
Yeah.
first time we've talked about it.
Yes.
Would it be possible, or is it standard practice for board members to have access to borrowing any copies of those books for our own personal review in preparation for any, for the curriculum workshop, or approving these in the future or anything like that?
Yes, the short answer is yes. I keep giving long answers to everything tonight. So the short answer is yes. And, you know, a member of the public can actually, you know, ask to see a textbook, and we would make one available to them to see. So yeah, yes, you can.
I just want to thank Eric for that detail, and Matt, I thank you for your comments as well. The mentoring project is something that was mentioned, I think about 4 years ago at a NAACP event in one of the schools. I'm glad you're bringing that back up again. You know, and I think we've had some good ideas in the past as well. So, you know, I don't necessarily feel that that any one of us owns the best idea. I think as a community we'll all come up with good ideas.
So I had a follow-up. It's actually going back to a comment Anthony Singh had made before, talking about the old data on AP classes. I actually looked at the equity report card earlier today. I was looking at the 2019, and I didn't break it up by subjects, but I did see that there's a pretty clear, it's pretty clear that going as far back as honors courses in the middle school, the demographics of the honors classes and advanced classes don't match the demographics of the larger population. It seems to be about a 16% discrepancy. It raises some questions for me. It's honestly, even just as a parent with my own experience with middle school students, the process for students kind of, and it's a tracking thing, right? You know, like once you, 6th, 7th grade is when you students start to get recommended for honors courses. That process, I think, even speaking to other parents, is pretty nebulous. I'm curious if that's, if we could describe that, if you could speak to that a little bit, Matt, the process for that, so how students get into honors courses. Of course, if you're in honors courses in 7th grade, you're more likely to be in AP classes in high school. And if that's an area we could look at as kind of like, what are those criteria? How are those recommendations getting made? And is there the potential for that imbalance to start there?
Yeah, you know, the short answer there is pass grades and teacher recommendation, and sometimes a standardized test score, if there's one that's applicable. You know, I think this particular subject would be, whether it's in a board committee or a full board meeting, or it's in a committee first, or whatever the process we decide, I think this would be a great one to discuss more as a board. I know, you know, what we can do for a future meeting, and I would think it would be good to have this, to do this conversation this summer, is we can show our current state and also look at what some other districts are doing. And I know we've taken maybe some small steps in this, but I think this is an area, that the board can get more directly involved in. Or we can facilitate, however you want to say it, but I think this would be a good topic for, it could be kind of like the sole topic in a way.
So Matt, to your credit, when you first started here, you actually did community meetings as well. And I think you were able to collect a lot of information through that again. And I know you're planning to continue those, and unfortunately the pandemic started, but I'm hoping that you will also continue that effort as well.
For sure. I mean, I certainly did a lot of concerted things my first year, but I've kept doing a number of community meetings and events through my 3 years. And, you know, I forgot to mention something in my little preamble that the diversity committee, you know, with the pandemic and the closure, and just sort of all the, I hate using the word chaos, but all of the just sort of figuring out our new lives that went on for a couple of months. Kind of that work of the committee went to the side. And so I know there's a number of people wanting to continue, and I for sure do too. And I know Eric and Bill, who co-facilitated it with me, do as well. So so we're going to get that going again as well. And I think the smaller working group model really seemed to work. And I think it felt, I won't speak for people, but I think it felt productive on some level. So I think, you know, I think sort of along with like the talking circle plan that we have for the summer, we want to get these working groups going too, because we know we generated a lot of great ideas in the diversity committee this year.
I have one final comment question. It's actually talking about moving forward, looking at our yearly review of the code of conduct policy, the code of conduct this summer. Typically, you know, for those who don't know, typically policies will be reviewed in the policy committee. This is such a big step for us. You know, we did a lot of work as a district, and I think we're excited to hear that there's a lot of progress because of it. That's been such a success. I was thinking to suggest, yeah, I don't know if this is relevant to me being the chair of the policy committee, but suggesting that we review that in a normal meeting. I'm sure there will be some minor changes. The world is a little bit different. There's certainly some things that I think are very important to write down. I think it's important to remember that code of conduct is not just a disciplinary method. In many cases, it's also where we offer protections for a lot of students. So I think it'd be a good idea for us to make time to have that on the general meeting.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, and I think it would fit in nicely with the equity report card being released, and so I think that makes a lot of sense. I would suggest if we want to make changes to the code that it is done through the committee, just to streamline it a little bit, and you know, so it could be more of a working meeting. But I think it's a great idea to talk about it in the larger meeting.
I mean, not to get in it, but I specifically have in my mind, I think we did a really great job in the tiers models of defining sort of levels in the restorative project, the program. And we did a really great job of making a distinction between profane language and hate speech. And at the time, I think we were trying to imagine which symbols of hate were an explicit nexus to kind of the world as it is. Considering the conversations that are happening, I think adding, we have swastikas, for example, identified. I think it's useful to maybe revise that. Think about adding Confederate flags and nooses. I think there's a more clear nexus at the moment. So just as a foreshadowing of something that I think that we might want to consider looking at and talking about. It's a change.
Do any other board members have any comments?
Yeah, I do. I have a question for Dr. Landahl. Craig Wolf here. The comment you made about we don't know exactly when we're going to get word from the state about state aid decreases. Could you elaborate on that and tell us what you know so far?
Anne Marie, I might need you to jump in on this. I just know that, you know, it's like the moving goalposts that I think we've been sort of we've had this when we get state aid dangled in front of us for feels like a couple of months now. And I understand that I think on the political level that they're waiting for the federal government to do something before they do what I think would be kind of a drastic cut. But Anne Marie, do you know anything more specific?
There's been discussion about the state's cash flow issue, which is a problem because they extended the deadline for filing taxes, so they don't have the cash available But in the guidelines, the second look back period was at the end of June, so the end of this month. So they'll look at that, they'll see what their projections are based on what the budget was, and they probably would give us more information sometime in July.
It would be a shame if we wound up losing some programs that were aimed at improving equity, particularly at this time. Is it something we might want to consider reaching to the community for a specific project through a GoFundMe or some similar approach?
We are
What?
not allowed to do GoFundMe, Craig. That would be a great idea, but we're not allowed to do that.
You know, I
Community
will.
groups can do it though, right?
Yeah, I will say this. You know, we really put a lot into planning for this year. There was a few positions that we did not replace, 3 at the teacher level that we don't feel like will have, you know, a negative impact on students next year. There's been some other areas where we've pulled back funds a little bit to plan for this, this cut, whenever this cut happens from the state. You know, so it's difficult to sort of juggle all that, but we really tried to do a lot of advanced planning on that realm, and then the community supporting the budget like they did with the absentee vote this year was really great. And you know, when Anne Marie and I talk about this stuff, our worries go, you know, sort of beyond this upcoming year and more to, you know, beyond, because it looks like the state will be having revenue problems for obvious reasons for possibly a while, several years. And so anyway, we're very committed to try to, you know, not cut student programming and keep all of this good stuff going, but we're also looking to, you know, use our resources wisely whenever we can.
Any other board members have any comments?
I just want to say I've been paying attention to the chat, and certainly folks can say this in public comment, but I'm seeing a few people saying that they would like talking circles for parents too, so we can talk with Duchess Mediation about how much we can expand that. Someone mentioned a program for us to look into, and certainly we will look into that. And then someone asked, are there copies of textbooks available at the public library as reference material? And I do not know the answer to that. I'm not sure if anybody on my team knows that. And if the answer is no, I think that's a great idea. So we will look into doing that if we're not doing it. And I'm looking at people's heads shaking, so it looks like we're not doing that. So that could be something that we do too. So thanks for sharing that.
I checked when my kid was in school, and they're not there.
Okay, that's a great idea.
And just to piggyback off of the circles for parents, when we were looking into revising the code of conduct, we did have a circle group with parents as well. I mean, it was a great opportunity to, although it wasn't highly attended, it was a great opportunity to have that conversation with parents. So we look forward to doing that in the future on different topics as well.
I'm just looking at a comment here. I haven't checked, but someone is pointing out that maybe it would be great to have Eric's email directly on the tip line, the DASA complaint. Imagine it'd be an easy fix on the website if it's not already there. It's a great idea.
Okay.
All right, so at this time, I'm going to open it up to public comment. If you would like to address the board, please use the chat feature and acknowledge that you would like to address the board, and I will call your name. And then Mr. Keeley will unmute you so you could address the board.
Anthony, I actually wanted to just make a short statement that I've been writing. Sorry, I didn't hit unmute fast enough. Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Matt, I just want to thank you. Thank you for the initiatives that you've taken and that the district has taken over the last couple of years. I feel that the work you're doing is good and sound, and we know that it wasn't taken lightly and took a lot of time and planning and money to make this work. I really think that, you know, we've been lucky that what's been happening over the last couple of months has happened when the kids have not been in school, because when we all come back, we'll have the benefit of some time to reflect and some new perspective. And I think that everyone will be holding themselves to a higher standard and be ready to do the work, even in the face of the budget cuts that we might be facing. So, you know, in the face of budget cuts, I think that if we stay focused on doing this good work and holding ourselves to that higher standard, we can keep doing this good work, even if we, you know, are doing it with less resources. So that's all.
Thank you.
I also wanted to throw one thing out just for the board to consider, is that we, I don't know what this would be, but I feel like it might be helpful for the board for our next retreat to choose equity as the issue and really try to dig into the subject more, and you know, different paths we can take to improve the situation. So I just wanted everyone to, I wanted to plant that seed.
Okay. So the board does have.
I'm sorry, Anthony, I have a question. The public comment that's coming up, we talked about whether people can talk again. I mean, I saw Erin's comment about
I was just going to there, Anthony.
All right, thank you.
So I don't see that Erin wants to address the board, but I do see that Donna Mickelson, Ms. Mickelson does, and she already addressed the board. And our 12:30, I think it says that it only states that you can only address the board. Are we adhering to that, or are you guys fine with them repeating?
I'm fine with it.
Okay. Thumbs up if you're okay with them addressing one of the ones.
That's fine. There was someone who wanted to comment right at the, I think it was Ariel had asked right as we ended the last comment period. I don't know if she's still on.
Yes, I'm here. Hi, thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk. I just have a few comments. I just believe that there needs to be a better communication between the district and the community as a whole, but especially with private institutions. Administration should acknowledge the other schools in the district that make up the community and have a direct impact on the students, especially if we want to address equality and the racial injustices. I think administration as well needs to clearly identify who's in charge of which programs and what groups parents can be a part of. For example, it's the first time I'm hearing about the diversity group. And just a side note, I know this discussion of the mentorship program, but I've helped several of Beacon City High School students, some that have graduated and some that actually still attend Beacon, look into the prep schools instead of going directly to college. That's another great resource for, you know, some of our students who are struggling, or, you know, the parents may be too afraid to take on the financial responsibility of college. So the prep school is a great option for our Beacon High School students and should be aware of that. So I just thought that would be a good thing to, a good idea to include as part of the mentorship program. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Ms. Mickelson?
Thank you for letting me speak one more time. I'm make it really short. I love all of the ideas. I want to reiterate again the need for really reaching out to the parents and having these facilitated conversations. I appreciate using Duchess mediation, but I also want to add that we have so many resources within this community. There are people who live here who are doing the work, who have been doing the work for years. And I think it's important we use those resources. And I think, you know, these are people who want to contribute to the community. These are our kids. I wanted to just speak to what Craig suggested. I know the school district can't do a fund me, but I believe that the community would be very, very supportive. And for those who could contribute, if we were facing a crisis, I don't think anyone would want this type of programming to be cut. And if the community needed to rally to support it, I am sure that we can find a way to make that happen. And I think we're unfortunately facing these cuts, as you were saying, Matt. It's really a little daunting, but I do think more than ever, this is when we need our community to rally. And that includes the parents and also business members and other educators that live here that have a lot of experience that we can draw from. So we really, I think together we can use the support of each other.
Thank you, Donna. Are there any other comments?
There was a comment on school ambassador program. Is that
Matt read about that, Anthony. He read
Okay.
about he acknowledged it in the chat. He read about it and said that they'll look into it.
All right, thank you.
Seeing no other comments, I'm going to ask someone for a motion to adjourn to executive session to review the employment history of particular individuals and to seek legal counsel to discuss the proposal acquisition, sale, or lease of real property, but only when publicity would substantially affect the value thereof.
Anthony, so move.
Second, Flora.
Comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion 9-0. The board will return as soon as possible. We're going to move right along to Dr. Landau. You have a presentation for tonight?
No, just a brief update that we are really excited to be in the final stage of graduation 2020. And so our graduates, we're going to be going to the Hyde Park Drive-In Wednesday night at 8:30 is when it starts to watch the movie that we've been putting together over the last few weeks. We're very excited. Lots of things have happened. Huge thank yous. I'm sure I will miss people, but I want to highlight the work of Elisa Soto for putting all of these different events together. I want to highlight John Giametta, who's done a lot with honoring our senior athletes this year. And I also want to just recognize Mike Gersh for putting the movie together. And so we are really excited to see it and really excited for Wednesday night. And it's different, but it's been special in its own way. So we're very excited for Wednesday night, and I just wanted to share.
Thank you.
Done.
All right, we're going to go to Facilities and Operation Committee. Kristen? You're muted.
Sorry. We had a discussion with NYSERDA and the contractor that we'd like to go with for the Real-Time Energy Manager program. I am getting the next steps for the process for applying for that. I think one of the good things that there's up to $250,000 for any projects that move towards efficiency in the district, plus a 3/4 reimbursement rate from NYSERDA, and the cost of the project what we pay should be offset by whatever savings we get. Then the Real-Time Energy Manager is similar. We have, I think, up to $100,000 for that, and again, 3/4 reimbursement, and we should, in what we save from it, receive greater savings. The nice thing about the Cleaner Greener Community program from NYSERDA is that as we continue to identify projects, we can continue to reapply for the $250,000 going forward. So it's something that when we're thinking about all the budget concerns we have, that we could, start shrinking our costs through this program. I don't have a meeting date, Matt, because we haven't talked about a follow-up since then. We're hoping the other nice thing about it is with the energy manager, we had talked about since we're likely moving forward with a much bigger architect engineering firm, that it would be really good to have someone just focused on Beacon, really thinking deeply about our buildings and facilities and operations. Because even though I know that we're going with a highly professional firm, these large firms, they know exactly how to, get their biggest ROI for what they're doing. And I think that the reason why we had picked BBS in the beginning was because we thought they would give us a more kind of careful, hands-on approach. I think with this, we'll be getting the best of both worlds. We just need to move the application processes along so that everything's in place in time for capital plan development.
Thank you, Kristen. Any questions for Kristen?
We want to do the next meeting. Matt?
I will work around people's schedules. I am here.
Okay, same. Does anybody else have a night that's, I feel
After July 4th.
Okay, yeah, yes, I know. I feel like we've all been through a marathon of many, many meetings. If it's okay with the committee, I'm going to advance the process of the applications, and I can loop you in when I have via email if everyone agrees with that.
Sounds good.
Do I do board comments now too? Oh, Craig, did you have a question?
No, that sounds good. Go with it.
Okay, thanks. I just wanted to thank Matt, congratulate everyone on their retirement. Welcome everyone who we extended tenure, or we will as soon as we vote on it tonight. Sounds like some very exciting people that have joined the Beacon team, and I just appreciated the executive team, specifically Matt, being responsive to having a detailed discussion around hard issues tonight. I know that all of that is going to be ongoing, and I think it's great that we're ready for it.
Thank you. James, policy?
Hi, yes.
Showing the guns, James?
I'm rolling them. It's hot. I want to thank the board and Matt for us having this tough conversation tonight. I know it's not our first conversation about this subject. It's certainly not our last. But I think we're also aware that the world is a little bit different outside of, well, we're not in the building, but outside. And I think there's always the fear of getting it wrong. And I think it's great to know that we probably will get it wrong, and we'll keep getting it wrong until it's right. But it takes a lot of courage to take that on, and I appreciate everyone's contributions to that effort. Because I think we all want to end up in a better place. Policy, we don't have a date. Actually, I'd like to set one. I'm looking at the calendar. We pushed it back just because the administration had asked for a little more time. Matt, Bill, Anne Marie, do you all have a sense of when a policy committee would work with your schedule in the next few weeks?
I'll stay with Anthony, maybe after the fourth, but I can work with anything.
How about the 13th of July?
Okay.
No, wait, we have a meeting that night.
Do we?
I'm looking at my calendar. It says, oh no, we don't. I'm sorry, my calendar's. I was looking at the wrong date. Yeah. So we can say July 13th, 7 p.m. Does that work with?
That works for me.
Great. Okay, great. So we'll set that.
Sorry, what time did you say, James?
7.
Got it.
Can I ask a question? Since we keep having to waive the public comment policy, would it be useful to create a Zoom public comment policy that was basically like the one we have, but for?
Or incorporate it into the policy.
Yeah, maybe worth it just to
Well,
have
maybe
it.
we can have legal look at it and see how we can incorporate video conferencing.
That's a good idea.
Good question, Meredith.
Great.
Any other questions for James? All right, Anthony.
Good evening. I'd like to congratulate all the tenure candidates and all the retirees. And those were wonderful presentations on their behalf. I also would like to thank all the public that came and spoke. I think it's very important that we hear, even though some of it may be hard, just like James has said. It takes a community. In terms of the diversity committee for the district hasn't met, for obvious reasons. But I think that all these efforts should still continue, and I thank Matt and Eric for that, for the presentation today on those items, and look forward to future discussions on that. Two things I wanted to bring up to the board is that there is a NYSBA deadline coming up for resolution submission. It's July 17th, 5 p.m. Friday. Meredith sent me the 2020 resolution kit. The deadline's so fast, but we should, I think, discuss whether or not we want to submit a resolution to NYSBA. One resolution that I was thinking about is allowing school districts to set up either a ward or neighborhood voting districts. I'd like to either put on a future agenda or something so that we can talk about what resolutions we would submit to NYSBA for consideration. The second thing I want to mention is that I did talk to informally to some of the city council members about DocuWare and how they were kind of using a benefit to the school district as a selling point to get approval of their plan. The end result of that informal conversation is that we should submit a letter to the city of Beacon to ask to be an interested party. I did get a copy of the version that the city of Beacon sent to the town of Fishkill. So I also would like to make that a future agenda item to discuss, agree, and approve, so we can send that to the city of Beacon to be an interested party of any plans that mention the school or what other condition.
We have that with Fishkill, Beacon, and Wappingers. That's the that should be the letter that, because it was written around Edgewater.
But we do? Because that wasn't clear when I spoke to the.
We should probably resubmit it just because a few things have slipped through. So I think it's something we should look at again, just resubmitting it to them. But it should be the letters to all Beacon, Fishkill, and Wappingers. So
Yeah, but I would like to make it, I would like to amend it to say that if one of these developers says that they're working with the district, that gets confirmed by us, that it just can't be put out there as this thing to make them seem like a better partner to the community, because the DocuWare thing is just not true, especially not anymore.
I'd like to add, if I could. I think it's a great point. I was at that meeting as well, and I overheard the mayor's response to Anthony's question. And to be honest, I feel like maybe we should take a look at that letter as we're amending it and think about how to. I feel like we're framing the question as kind of asking the city to keep us in mind in these kind of negotiations. As an institution, our school district is 3 times the size as the city. We are the city's off the top of my head, I think we must be the city's largest employer. A huge percentage of the city population attends our schools or is connected to our school community. I don't think it's too much to ask to expect our city to actually really internalize the needs of Beacon students in the district in all of their negotiations. And I think that's something that I was a little let down on when listening to that conversation with Anthony and the mayor, is I felt like there was this expectation that Lee explicitly said that the district needs to be paying better attention if that's something we're concerned about, which I found to be dissatisfactory, to be honest. So I feel like we could use stronger language in that letter.
We do have a new mayor and we do have a new chair of the planning board. So it's always good to reiterate whatever it is we said before and possibly to amend it. I think that their agendas are online and easily read too. So perhaps some of the responsibility is with us to be monitoring what they put up.
I think that in terms of, it sounds like two different tracks in terms of, I think legally we worded it as strongly as we could because we ask as an interested party, and it's strictly if it's usually related to school impact studies or if there will be any negative impact on us. And that's part of the seeker process. That's where we're supposed to be notified. That's actually our only official avenue, I believe, to seek information and inclusion as an interested party. It sounds more like it's a relationship issue where we need to develop a relationship with the city where we work together more.
I mean, I could read.
I don't know if taking like a strong approach is the way to do it.
So the example that I got from Beacon, which was the letter they sent to the town of Fishkill, was with this topic was notification of projects. Dear Ms. Tompkins and Ms. Colonna.
Can we add this for a discussion later on? This isn't what board comments are meant to be, is a full-blown discussion about something.
Well, yeah, I asked if it could be a board.
All right, so why are we having discussion now? We can add it on after the new year.
Okay. I can afford to circulate what I got to the board, I guess, in the meantime by email, or do you want me to attach it to the board agenda?
You can email it, that's fine.
Okay.
Craig?
Thank you. With regard to resolutions that we would suggest to NYSBA, the New York State School Boards Association, that deadline is kind of close. We have talked about this before. We would obviously need to have something in preparation for a board meeting so that the entire board could stand behind it and send it on its way. I don't know if it's feasible. We would have to get a committee meeting going between now and the next board meeting. I think that might be pretty challenging, but I'm amenable to it if we have others who are interested. I should say that there was another idea that came up a couple years ago after the great storm that interrupted our election a couple years ago, and it was to suggest that there be some means of creating an authority figure who could issue some emergency arrangements upon approach by a board when you find you've got trees down on the roads and so on, as we did. And we never did pick that up and run with it. So that's another issue that could be addressed. I would like to say that in terms of advocacy, we're in a bit of a holding pattern right now because on the federal level, there has been discussion about what to do about aid to states or aid to other people in general. And that seems to have gotten a little stuck in the political thicket. It's not like the first time around when there was broad bipartisan support for the huge relief programs that we have been enjoying. It's gotten tougher. So Governor Cuomo's strategy is essentially a good one, and that is to try to use what influence he has to try to get something from the federal government before the state tries to do something on its own. He's not talking much about that. I think that's the reason why. By the way, he's got a fairly large amount of clout, considering I have heard, I can't vouch for this, but I have heard that his comments have reached about 59 million people. That's about 3 times the population of the state of New York. So he's got a big horn there, and bigger than ours anyway. So I think the status right now is that we should wish him well, and we should be probably talking to the federal level to say, what are you guys going to be doing over there? Because we do need this assistance. Otherwise, we're going to be having some problems because our state aid is at a ratio of something like, what, maybe 45% of our budget, someplace in that neighborhood. You take a big bite out of that, and it's going to be a big net bite. And we're going to feel that either immediately or in some future year. So I think we should get a meeting together sometime fairly soon. And I'd like to know if the members of that Public Relations Advocacy Legislative Committee are up for getting together sometime before our reorg meeting. Our reorg meeting, we're going to set that tonight, right? That's going to be July 1. Is that
Correct.
right?
Yes.
Okay. Thanks.
Just throw a date out there, Craig.
Okay, July 1, back timing, we've got possibly the Tuesday the 30th.
Okay.
Does Tuesday the 30th work?
That works for me, Craig.
I can do it.
Good.
Yep, we're good.
Okay, 7 o'clock?
Perfect.
Sure.
Got it.
So I didn't want to interrupt Craig, but the last thing I wanted to mention was the City Beacon wanted also to have the quarterly meetings with the school district. Just throw it out there. We could also talk about that in an agenda item.
Any questions for Craig?
I have a general question about a topic for the PR, the Public Relations and Advocacy Committee. It's 2 years since I was elected, and in our first meeting of that committee, or my first meeting of that committee, we had a long discussion about the district website and about redesigning and choosing a new template. Is that something that is still on our agenda for?
Yeah, we were gonna do that.
Go ahead.
Sorry, Matt, what did you say? We were going to do that what?
We were gonna do that this summer.
Okay, great.
So I think it's more on the radar than it is on the agenda yet, but as he said, summer. So we're getting into summer. So we'll look at that after the reorg.
Great. I wanted to mention it because there are lots of people in the community who are looking at our website who haven't before, I think. And I've read some comments that they're struggling with navigation. So I just thought we could revisit that. Thank you.
Why don't you go right into your board comments there, Les?
Thanks. Congratulations to our retirees and tenure recipients. And I also would like to thank everyone for tonight's workshop, and I think we can pat ourselves on the back a little bit for having these discussions amongst all the other difficult things that we are dealing with, especially you, Matt. I know that this is probably, between the pandemic and the budget and everything that we're dealing with, is, I'm sure, the biggest challenge that you faced thus far, I suspect. Correct me if I'm wrong. So I just wanted to commend everybody for, just powering through. Thank you.
Thanks. Questions for Les? Flora?
Hi. So the Wellness Committee hasn't been meeting this summer, but on the subject of wellness, I just want to say that I was really heartened to see so many responses to our survey for students, talking about how they're feeling and how they're handling the current situation with COVID and the movement for racial justice, and just all of the upheaval that they're experiencing right now. So I look forward to seeing how we use that information to serve our students' emotional well-being in the school year and also beyond that. And Matt, I wanted to ask you if that survey is still open to be responded to.
Say that again.
I just wanted to ask if the survey is still open for responses.
Yes.
It is, okay.
Yeah.
So I know it was sent around by email, and it's also posted to social media. But I will try to share it again this week, just in case anyone missed it. I guess in terms of my own personal comments, I do want to say that I appreciate hearing from community members and people that we haven't heard from before, and getting new perspectives. And I'm also, I'm excited about the initiatives that are ongoing. I am worried about the budget. I think we're all worried about the budget and about what we can make possible with it. But I feel very confident with the word and with our superintendent that we're going to prioritize what's important. And I think that I would also like to, and this is a seemingly small point, but I think it is important to add to what Alyssa was saying, is that a big part of communication is, people coming to site. So I look forward to trying to make that more clear. And I've seen the comments as well. So I think that that's a good initiative to happen in the coming months. And that's all for me. I did want to ask you if we were going to plan to have any meetings this summer, or what you wanted to do in terms of.
Yeah, I think it's important that we get together this summer so that we can start gearing up for next year. Absolutely. So hopefully you and I can connect and plan that.
Okay, yeah, that would be great. That would be great. That's it for me.
Any questions for Flora? Meredith?
I also wanted to say thank you to the retirees for your service, and congratulations to our soon-to-be newly tenured teachers and administrator. I feel, I don't think we'll be doing curriculum meetings this summer in the way that we do during the school year, but it sounds like Eric had some great ideas tonight, so I really look forward to updates on that as they come. I think that would be great for the community here, inspiring to get us ready for the fall. So please keep us updated with that. And that's it for me.
Any questions for Meredith? Mike? I almost forgot you, Mike.
I was wondering, I say, what about the order? Raise my arms or something. Just congratulations to the retirees. Know that you've made a significant impact on so many students' lives, including, most of them impacted all 4 of my students. So really appreciate the time and effort you put into students, and enjoy your retirement. And also for the soon to be tenured teachers and administrator, congratulations. And we look forward to a long, long service in the district. It's really, really worthwhile. So thank you all for wanting to do that. And that's all I had. Thank you.
All right. Any questions for Mike? All right, I just have a couple board comments. One is do not forget to do your evaluation. That needs to be done ASAP, so it could be compiled. If you need assistance with it, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. We do have a board meeting on July 1st. It is the reorg meeting. I would like to point out that Kristen, Craig, and myself will be sworn in, and then we will also be doing members of the committee as well. I would like to say that I like serving as president for 4 years. However, I do feel that it's time for me to have a change, and I will be nominating Meredith for that role at the reorg meeting. And it's been a pleasure. I just feel that it's just time to have some change. 4 years and people get accustomed to things, but I think it would just be good to have some change there. And Meredith has shown that she's ready for that. So that's going to be my my nomination at the reorg meeting. And I do not have any other comments besides thanking the district for everything that they're doing. I'm hearing great things about graduation. I'm hearing great things about the middle school moving up, as well as the 5th grade moving up, where the teachers have really taken initiatives and done something special to make the kids feel special. So I think it's great that we're honoring our seniors, but we didn't forget about the other important move ups with 8th grade to 9th grade and 5th grade to 6th grade. So I think it's just something to acknowledge that our elementary schools did a really good job with that piece, as well as our middle school with moving up to the high school. All right. We're at that point for the consent agenda. The use of the consent agenda permits the Board of Education to make more effective use of its time by adopting a single motion to cover those relatively routine matters which are included. Any member of the board who wishes to discuss individually a particular piece of business on the consent agenda may so indicate, and the item will be considered and voted on separately, thus preserving the right of all board members to be heard on any issues. Is there any item from the consent agenda that a board member would like pulled? Hearing none, I need a motion to approve consent agenda items 8.01 through 8.14.
Anthony, so moved.
Alyssa, second.
Comments or questions? I would just like to make a comment about 8.12 and about 8.13. I appreciate people stepping up and coming with different revenue sources for kids to continue their education or post-secondary career as to with what they wanted to do. So I think it's great that they were getting a donation and a scholarship donation as well. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried 9-0. I need a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Mike Rakowski. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried 9-0. All right, and that was at 10:41. Thank you, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Great.
Good night.
Good night.